Hello and welcome to episode 15 of the Fantasy Football All in Football podcast show. I'm your host, the FPL guru, Alex Rex, and joining me today is Scott Williams, all on his Todd. Scott, how are you doing today?
I'm all right, yeah. Carrying the show out, but yeah, not too bad, thanks. Not too bad. Here to make everyone feel a bit better about the weeks.
Well, I've got a surprise couple of stats for you, so I'm sure you haven't looked at them, but might make you feel a little bit better about your season so far. So you wait and see. But this week, guys, we're going to cover off the game week that just happened, game week 12. We're going to answer some of your questions, the main talking point being strikers and what we're going to do about them, and also the impact of the new managers. Do the usuals of reviewing the game week, and then look forward to this game week 13. We're going to do another podcast, try get it out before game week 14. We've got our first midweek Premier League fixtures, game week 14, and then game week 15 being the weekend after. So there's 3 Premier League games in 10 days. They are things to consider whilst the Champions League is going on tonight, whilst we're chatting away. So without further ado, let's review the kings of the game week for game week 12. Tyrone Mings. 15 points. I bet he's absolutely loved that. Big at the back's done it, hasn't it? Trent, Rudiger, James and Cancelo, 15, 14, 12 and 12. Just stop it, lads. Every week at the moment, they seem to be absolutely smashing it. The consistency is ridiculous. Jose Sa with 8 points in goal. Mane, Højbjerg and Canos. And then Emmanuel Dennis and Christian Benteke with he got 2 goals, didn't he? In his game, which and Dennis got, I think, goal and an assist. So again, we've got a right pairing of strikers up top that I don't think any of us really saw coming.
I must say, Benteke has been. He gets a lot of chances. He is one I've been looking at. I must say, because he does seem to get a lot of chances. He misses a lot, but he does convert some.
He does.
Dennis is so streaky, isn't he?
Dennis. I love it. He's Benteke, I think working with Gallagher as well works well. And when he plays with IU, and Edouard didn't play this week, did he? We didn't start this week. It was came on. And Benteke, he had a few chances. He could have scored a couple more goals. But it looks, especially in this season where strikers are just few and far between who we can even pick, he's definitely somebody to consider. I think he's only 6.3. I've got that later on, but I'll cover that. Back 5 in the team of the week for the 3rd time this season. What you'll find, this is an interesting one. One game week, the game week where Ronaldo and Lukaku joined the game, it was a joint between a striker and a defender who got the actual player of the game week. But 7 out of the other 11 game weeks, a defender has been the top scorer in the game week. 3 times a midfielder, and 1 time Bobby Firmino. This one time when he got his hat trick, or did he get a hat trick and an assist? Yeah, he's the only striker that's actually ever been the king of the game week. So big at the back seems to continue to pay off.
It's just the way the Premier League seems to be now. Wing backs. I mean, I know you've got Rudiger and Mings in there because they've both scored, but more often than not, the defenders are the wing backs, aren't they? The ones creating the chances. Like we'll see Trent in there. He conceded 3 goals last week. Yeah, against West Ham, and he still made it in there. I think
he did. I think he was in the team of the week last week. He got double figures, didn't he? I think he got 10 points or something last week. It's unbelievable. I mean, he had a shot with his left foot at the edge of the penalty area, and he was the furthest man forward. The way that these teams play, it's crazy. They're so different to anything that we've had for however many years. Beforehand, we've just had that consideration because even with Walker and Cancelo last season for Man City, they end up playing holding midfield. Like that sort of role when they came out of wing back. So they weren't playing, but they weren't in the other opposition's box as much. It always was Robertson and Trent. And now next season, I mean, I dread to think how many wing backs are going to be 7 million in fantasy. It's just going to be ridiculous. But anyway, let's not put any ideas in fantasy football's head. A few game week stats. The captaincy top 10k was 87.9% for Mo Salah, as usual. 53% overall, and the rest were all relatively negligible. So relatively standard. I think we had 100,000 wild cards, and I was one of them, which we'll have a look at my team in a bit to see how I got on this week. I definitely thought I'd done worse than what I had done, when I was going through the week, and I'd taken out Jimenez and Tony and Rudiger out of my team. And all of them scored.
Can't believe you took Jimenez out.
I know, honestly. Bloody advice from all these people I do a podcast with, honestly. Yes, wanted to touch on the All In Football Podcast Mini League. So if you haven't join us, do it. Make sure you do. And I haven't got the code on me at this very moment in time because for some reason, some weeks I have it and other weeks I don't. But there's an Instagram post with it on, so check us out on All In Football Pod, All In Football P on our social platforms, and just to please Callum Burnett, who loves it every week, smash and like the button icon and subscribe to us on YouTube, please, guys. It helps. Gavin Webb still top of the league, 77 points. 77 points this game week, 846 points overall. Gav's overall rank is 9k at the moment. So absolutely smashing it. It would be his fourth top 10k finish overall that he's ever had. Very established manager.
When's his podcast coming out?
Well, he's definitely going to have to come on here and tell us how he's doing it.
Definitely.
The best result he had in 16-17 was 2,334 in the world. So well done to Gavin Webb. Manager of the week, though. It's us.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a small victory. Come on.
We did it. Come on, 85 points. Getting the coveted Manager of the Week prize goes to the podcast team. Well done, boys. Read out the team for podcast listeners, Scott. Let's revel in our glory.
Yeah, Ben Foster, I believe the second goalkeeper this season to get an assist.
It's mad, isn't it?
It was a wonderful assist, and unlucky not to keep a clean sheet against that poor Man United team. Rudiger, Cancelo, Trent, just like we mentioned already, unbelievable. Livramento, the 1 week when you think he's actually going to do all right, he has a poor week, so 1 point. Salah 16, solid captain choice. Gallagher 5 points from an assist. Son not doing much, but looked pretty good that second half, as did a lot of the Spurs team. Jota 8, should have been more. He missed a sitter. Tony 6, lovely finish, could have had more himself. And Wilson somehow getting 1 point in that game, which is ridiculous. I will just touch on that now, as I like to have a little look each week, and I've looked at Match of the Day and see who was the nearly man of the game week. And it was out, without a doubt, Callum Wilson this week. In that 3-3 won the game. He had 6 shots, 2 on target, 5 inside the box. He had expected points of 5.1, and as you can see, he got 1 point. So frustrating as hell for Callum Wilson owners.
Oh yeah, Callum Wilson, and to be fair to you boys as well, we had the debate over who to start, Rafinha or Livramento this week. I chose Livramento, and you and Tom both said no, Rafinha, because Livramento, new manager bounce. Norwich felt this sort of game was coming. You were both right. We started Rafinha, then he got poorly, so he didn't play, did he? Oh. Got 1 point for Livramento anyway. But it shows the importance and strength and depth in the bench. Hwang and Duffy obviously sat on there as well. Overall rank of 97k now for the podcast team. First time we've broken 100k this year. And that's 3 green arrows in the last 4. So 3 green arrows in a row as well since our wild card. So it's great to see that the wild card has worked really well for us. And I think we're still excellently set up. We've got enough money this week if we want to go from Duffy to Chilwell direct, if we wanted to do that. But we haven't got enough money to go Duffy to James, because Duffy's dropped in price to 4.3. I didn't see that coming. I always thought we had enough money in the bank, even if James went up 1 and whatever else, but James has gone up 2. He's gone up from 5.9 to 6.1. And then the other option, of course, that we had was to start looking at strikers, but we don't know who to choose, really. So my proposition would be potentially to look at upgrading to Chilwell at the back. But again, there is a hard number of games coming up, so that's something to debate. Want to also look at my wild card, because I was second. I was 1 point off being manager of the week this week. Always a bridesmaid, me. Overall rank 94k. Ended up playing a back 5. Gaeta in goal. Who knew Burnley would score 3 times? Trent, Chilwell, Cancelo, James, Livramento, Salah, Son, Gallagher, Jota, and Wilson. And then I had Josh King sat on the bench with 6 points. Hwang and Rafinha. But I'm pleased with that. 94k. big green arrow, puts me first in a lot of my mini leagues, which is nice. And also I'm set up quite nicely to not have to do any transfers this coming game week. Generally, I'm pleased with the team. There's not a player out there at the moment that I think will end up changing at the end of this week, because it always does. There's not a player out there at the moment where I really desperately want them and don't have them. And that's the nice feeling after you've wildcarded, when you've got, I watched the Chelsea game, and even though Rudiger scored and he got more points than Chilwell and James, watching the game and looking at their heat maps, without a doubt, James and Chilwell are the two players to have in your team. As long as hopefully they don't get rotated, of course. But yeah, I'm very pleased with that. Guess who, by default, sorry, Will, is one manager of the week again, because Tom won it last week. Will Hughes was best of the rest again, so well done to Will. I had a really good look at his team. He had a small, let's just view his game week history season. I was just about to talk about this. But he wildcarded in game week 8, which was at that time he had a really small red arrow of about 8,000 players. But since that wildcard, so very break even on the wildcard week. But since then he's had 4 green arrows in a row off the back of it. Got himself from 779k in the world to 214k overall. That's fantastic. And it's shown again the strength of a wildcard. He's obviously made some really good decisions there to propel himself up the overall rankings. Done. Yeah, fantastic job. Got to give him credit. What's this? I tried mince pies at a supermarket. Just popped on my screen then. So well done, Will. 79 points. Let's also look at the apprentices team, because I'm very proud of Liam. He's made some excellent decisions, and he was only 1 point behind Will with 78 points. He's had 5 green arrows in a row with his team now, and he's gone from 4 million in the world to 1.7 million. So well done, Liam. A few just gentle tips, nothing major, but just a couple of questions he's asked me. I've gone back to him in terms of the right players to put in, and a few techniques of just taking out your weakest link and plugging the hole of the player that's really killing you every week. So he started the season without Salah. That's what did him. But he's got the Salah, James, Cancelo, Trent, St. Maximin did bits from this week, has to be said. The next week link's probably Ben Rama, and he obviously can go Ben Rama down to Gallagher very easily. So something like that as well, probably from next week. He's had no keeper play this week as well, because there's no point transferring out Batman for Foster really when he needs all the points. He needs to save the transfers.
So I'm just thinking I did that.
I know. He needed to save the transfer. He's got 2 free transfers this week. He can use one of them, and then he can bank the next one into the week after. He asked me what to do. I said, I think that's probably the right thing to do. No doubt, obviously, if he'd have put Foster in instead of Batman, he'd got 5 extra points. So it would have been worth it, because it was a free transfer. But anyway, so not to worry about that. But well done to Liam. Scott,
Yo,
this is where I wanted to touch on your team, because it's been a running joke between us, hasn't it? Scott brings in a player who didn't do very well.
yeah.
Scott's not having the best week. Things are going against him this season. Well, 76 points this week. If we view your game week history, your start was pretty atrocious, wasn't it? Like, it didn't go well.
No.
But this week was your 6th green arrow in a row.
I didn't know that. That's good.
You've gone from 3.2 million in the world to 1.5.
Ah.
It's the comeback trail is well and truly on. So 6 green arrows in a row, whereas in your first 5 game weeks, you only got 2 and 3 big reds. So has to be said, 6 green arrows. He's on the rise.
I'm getting there.
Yeah, getting there.
Grinding. I made the right decision for a change for Jota, so I'm happy with that.
Yeah, it was a good decision, and Tom's up to 162k as well. So solid start for Tom. He's had a really good run after his wild card as well. So it's proved. It's all. I feel like now in the game, it's all settled down quite nicely. I feel like it's settled well for us. and the managers who are making consistently the right decisions will now start to see themselves climb up the rankings if they're not already near the top. So a manager like Gav, he's already near the top. He'll sustain that rank relatively well. Obviously his aim's going to be. This is how close it is. By the way, he's 28 points off the top 1,000 managers.
Nice.
That's how close it is. I have 8.6 million managers. He's 28 points, I think it is, off the top 1,000. That's incredible. So good managers will keep that. And then also players like yourself will continue to climb the ranks, and as long as you're making good calculated decisions. And there's still absolutely no doubt that you can finish in the top 1% this year with a bit of luck, I believe. So, question time. Let's move on to that. Scott, impact of new managers. I wanted to come to you first of all on how you feel Conte's done at Spurs, and also how probably Dean Smith's done at Norwich, as the two I wanted you to talk about today.
Yeah, I mean, I think they've made an impact. I'll start with Dean Smith at Norwich, a guy that's been out of the game for 9 days. To be fair, it was. Let's not forget, it was coming into a Norwich team that had won a game of football. But yeah, I was just having a look at the stats. It's set up pretty similar to what they did. They had a horrendous start and they were awful first half, which was basically what I'm going to say about Spurs. It's clearly got them going in the dressing room, and there was one man blocking through the game that stuck out, and he's Billy Gilmour.
Yeah,
he's come out, Dean Smith, and he says he is vital for Norwich City, which tells me he's now going to be playing week in, week out. An assist and 3 more chances created in that game for Billy Gilmour. Someone that we did say at the beginning of the season, potentially to keep an eye on. He has got the talent, but looking at the highlights, he looks on it, and he's playing under a manager now that clearly believes in him. So, as an enabler, at 4.4 million.
Yeah, 4.4.
Could be someone to look at, to be fair, especially if Dean Smith gets them going. And there were more chances created in that second half than any half of football, I believe, for Norwich all season. So way better. Similar to Spurs. Anyone who watched the game, it was the old cliche in football, a game of two halves, and it certainly was. I don't know what team came out second half, but they were a totally different team. I was sat there next to Tom, who was obviously a big Leeds fan, and I said, you've got a massive 10 minutes here to ride, because Conte would have riled them right up, and it was the truth. I believe 2 shots first half for them, 11 second half.
Yeah,
XG of 0.06 first half, 2.07 second half. Totally different team. And I must admit, watching it, I really enjoyed watching Son, Moura, and Kane. And I know they didn't really produce that many points, but Kane seems to be stopped doing this, getting back into a bloody midfield position.
Yeah.
And getting his back. There was a moment in that game where he had his back to goal, I think, and he turned Liam Cooper and he got a block in. But if Kane can do that week in, week out against defenders, he's strong, he's tall, he can jockey. So if he can do that, and I thought Son and Moura looked bright, I must say. And Moura is one I was looking at this week. Looking at people around him, sort of price-wise, you're looking at people like Barnes, Maddison, Benrahma, Saka, Bowen, players that have done okay this season in patches, but no one's really stood out. And how much is more? 6.4 million. Yeah. I think that could be good value, especially if Conte gets them going. Because he is one I do enjoy watching. He's owned by 1%.
Yeah, 1% owned. I did actually look at the Moura, I'm not to bring him in initially, just because I was just looking at who was playing for Spurs, and 1%. And Kane, just for me, there was one point in that game where he got rolled through to him and he took a touch where normally Kane had hit it first time, and then he hit it second time, it was saved. And I was just like, it's nearly there, isn't it?
Yeah, it was the first chance, wasn't it? Right, the first, and he saved it and put it on the post, and then the Melier. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
it's just Kane again, someone definitely to watch. Same with Son. If you're on them, if you've got them already, you don't sell them. But also at the same time, I don't know what you think, because I personally still would give them another week.
Yes, 100% another week. They showed enough for me watching that game. Second half, where I would. I'm even looking at Moore and myself potentially bringing in because I say he looked bright. They all looked okay, I must say.
Brentford at home and Norwich at home next two are so tasty as fixtures. They're so tasty. I mean, then Brighton, Leicester, and Liverpool, obviously not the nicest, but these next two games are. What am I on about here? I'm one short of that. Sorry, that's the two after. Burnley away, then Brentford at home, Norwich at home. Sorry, I missed off one of the games there. But yeah,
Burnley leaking. Let's be honest, they're not being a Burnley team this season. They're leaking. I would say keep an eye on Thursday, Europa Conference League. Number one, see who plays. Number two, see how they play. Because all they need is a couple of goals and they could be flying. And if they play like they did against that Leeds team in the second half, it could be very interesting.
Well, this is it. You absolutely never know. The thing is, someone like Conte, you know he knows what he's doing. Even if the team aren't looking that great, you know what his intentions are. And don't get me wrong, their second goal was ridiculously lucky. Forshaw fell asleep. Reguilon ran him, just kind of hit him and went in. Like it's just one of them annoying goals. But at the same time, that passion and desire to follow that ball in comes from the manager.
Yes,
and not slating Forshaw at all. There, I'm talking about a positive for Reguilon. That following in just makes all the difference, and he's obviously scored a goal there and turned it round. And the wing backs were as expected, getting forward all of the time in really advanced positions. And Son was playing maybe a little bit more centrally, but it's I kind of, if I was picking between Son and Kane right now, which is something that is being talked about in the fantasy community, I'd have to say, looking at the formation and the way they were playing, I would pick Kane. But at the same time, I'm more than happy being a Son owner right now.
So I'd go Moura.
You go Moura over Son and Kane?
Yes, to free up funds elsewhere.
Oh, I like that. Scott, controversial. We're looking at Villa as well. So out of the new managers, obviously, sorry, Claudio. I mean, you won 2 matches. You absolutely spanked Man United and then lost your other 3. But out of the 4 brand new managers that have come in, they've had 5 games. They've got 3 wins and 2 draws. It's amazing. The new manager bounces is ridiculous, aren't they?
Yes.
Villa played 4-3-3 as expected. We talked about with Gerrard. Buendia played as part of a front 3, which is interesting, has to be said. I think that's probably Leon Bailey's position when he comes back and fit, though. I don't know if Buendia will drop a little deeper. I really like Ollie Watkins. Maybe not. I'm not talking about as a person. I don't know him, but I really like to watch him. I'm really happy on him in our draft game. Crystal Palace away next is a tough game. City at home, Leicester at home, Liverpool away. I'm not looking at them at all for the next 4 games.
No.
But after that point, they've got Norwich and Burnley. Yeah, Chelsea, but then Leeds and Brentford. They've got 4 good fixtures in 5.
Yeah.
So they're definitely a team to look out for moving forward anyway as well. And Newcastle, Tom's man Matt Ritchie, who's the Mr. Stats, got an assist and he was finding himself forward quite a lot. Alan St. Maximan and Joe Linton either side of our favourite boy, poor Callum Wilson. So he didn't seem to get any results. But yeah, Matt Ritchie's definitely one to watch out for. Just 1 second. Let me just check what Ritchie's ownership is. 0.3% and 4.9 million. So he's a little bit more expensive than would have hoped. But yeah, again, they're all differentials pretty much at Newcastle. So Maximan 16.3% selected. Manquillo, because he's a £4 million defender, is 8.6%. Callum Wilson's 3.2%, and everybody else is under 1% owned for obvious reasons. So options. Thanks for that, Scott. This man's been talked about a lot. For pod listeners, I've just shown a picture of Jamie Vardy. So he's been talked about a lot. His form, you ready for this? This is so Vardy. 5 points, 2 points, 12 points. 2 points, 8 points, 11 points, 8 points, 8 points. 1-1-2-2 since everyone brought him in. A lot of people have held on to Vardy this week because it just didn't make sense to transfer him out for whatever reasons for their teams, and that makes total sense. I get that. That's what they're wanting to do. And looking at their fixtures now, Watford at home, Southampton away, Villa away, Newcastle at home. actually their next 4 games look pretty tasty for Jamie Vardy. What's your take on him, Scott?
Well, I'm one of them people that didn't take him out and held on to him. So my take on it is I love Jamie Vardy as a footballer, and this is a bad run of form, but Leicester are playing bad at the minute. They're not playing the same Leicester City way that we expect. I think certainly last game they really missed Tillman's in the middle of the park.
Yeah.
I think Vardy will come good again. He's not someone that's going to sulk. If you watch the Chelsea game on Saturday lunchtime, he ran and ran and ran, which you're going to get with Jamie Vardy, and he closed that keeper down. And another time he gets a block and then he gets a cheap little goal. It's not a chance I'm taking him out for the next 2 games. You've got Ronaldo not on form, who I could go to. Lukaku, give a Belgium. Lukaku is on the bench tonight for the Champions League, so he's easing his way in.
Okay.
Not a risk I want to take at the minute because he's potentially not starting and wasn't on form anyway. So when you look at the premium striker options around, there's no one I'm desperately wanting to go on to. So I'm definitely giving Vardy a couple more weeks until probably that Spurs game, maybe, if he's not firing on all cylinders. If he is, I'll probably leave until Boxing Day.
Fair enough. Makes sense. So he can go on streaks.
Yes.
My worry about them is just Leicester as a team. I just don't think that they've been very good. That's the only thing. And it's weird I think Rodgers is just going through a little phase with that side at the moment. I don't think they've become bad overnight. It's just they're obviously having a phase of bad form.
I'd like to see him go 2 up top again, like they did last season when they got the form back. Get Iheanacho back in there, even Daka.
Yeah.
Vardy clearly works better off someone rather than with playing with the attacking midfielders. So, but I agree. Brendan Rodgers is a class manager. I don't know if they're maybe distracted by the Man United links constantly, but they're probably just going for a bad run. They've got Europe as well, which let's not forget they've had a lot of injuries, which has depleted the team. So yeah, he will come good, I'm sure.
Yeah. In terms of his statistics for Vardy, 2 goals in his last 6. These are all off the last 6. In terms of XGI, so expected goal involvement, 1.9 is the statistics. He's been involved in 2 goals. In terms of his expected points, 22.3. He's got 22. He's basically performing at the level that you'd expect him to perform at. So over the next 4 games, they're much easier fixtures. You'd hope he gets a couple of goals out of those, or at least maybe a couple of assists and a goal. But I think, what will happen is everybody will stick with Vardy, who's got Vardy, unless Kane goes nuts against Burnley, and then they've got Brentford and Norwich at home, and then Vardy's out, Kane's in, and it's where it's going to be. Or they'll give Vardy 2 game weeks, and then Ronaldo will perform the week after they play Chelsea because they'll just try to get through a 0-0 against Chelsea and try, not capitulate. So the next game with Man United's fixture run's absolutely insanely good. So that's what will happen. And if no striker really appeals and really goes big after these next 4 game weeks, like West Ham's fixtures turn really well, and I can see a lot of people turning back to Antonio or because he what he's like. He goes through phases. I mean, he's not performed in these last few game weeks in terms of returns, but I know they lost 1-0 to Wolves last week. But generally, like West Ham are still playing well and scoring quite a few goals. So I can't see Antonio not being involved in goals, which I feel like everyone who's not owned him whilst West Ham have been scoring loads of goals is really, really lucky. And that's me. I think that's one of my bits of luck this season.
And that's me. I've not owned him all season. And that's one of the reasons when Alex showed you my start was one of the poor decisions I made at the beginning, not having him. So yeah, if it comes to it, I will not be leaving Antonio out my team. I will be jumping on him.
He can't not be involved for forever. This is the I'll come back to this list, but this is the list of strikers, and we're going to talk about strikers a little bit more in a minute. But I wanted to, we're still going to talk about them now, actually, because one of the questions I had this week was about Cristiano Ronaldo, and buy, sell, or keep, or avoid. Those are the questions on what to do with Ronaldo. And these statistics here for everyone who's looking on the YouTube video, game weeks 4 to 7 versus game weeks 8 to 12. So Cristiano Ronaldo started off with his expected points, his XG, big chances, shots in the box, shots on target, shots all being massive. And this is with a game week less. His performance was way, way above these last 4 game weeks or 5 game weeks, 8 to 12. But weirdly, he's got the same points, the same actual goal involvement, which is really weird. But that's what's ended up happening, and it just shows the demise in the amount of chances. It looks like, for me, he's been trying to create more actually than actually just sort of standing between the posts and putting the ball in the net, which is what he's the best at. Being obviously a world-class player. So what I would say about Ronaldo is, even though his big chances and his big chances, etc., have all been down, and his shots have been down as well. For me, because there's no other massive, like, really good striker options, and to spread your money around, if you've got 2 free transfers, then you could, and let's just say something ridiculous here. You haven't got Trent and you've got Ronaldo in your team. Well, then it's well worth taking maybe even a -4 to get Ronaldo out, a defender out, and get Trent in. Like something like that. It's so obvious. But if we're talking about finer changes and tweaks within your team, Ronaldo's fixture run: Arsenal, Crystal Palace, Norwich, Brentford. And let me also continue this. Top of the fixture ticket: Norwich, Brentford, Brighton, Newcastle, Burnley, Wolves, Villa, West Ham, Burnley, Southampton, Leeds, and Watford, all the way to game week 27. Man United fixture run is insane till game week 27. And you'd expect some sort of bounce off the back of what's been going on. You expect something to change at the club. And I'm not saying he's going to do anything against Chelsea. They're going to try not to get battered. But after that, you have to see some sort of performance and turnaround, I think. So if I
sorry, Alex. I'm just sorry to keep an eye on the game. That was all then.
Oh no, don't. What's happened?
Ronaldo scored.
Okay, good. The thing is, I've turned off my notifications because I thought that you'd pause the game. So I was
I didn't bother.
I thought you were going to watch it afterwards. But no, that's fine. Real time stuff like that. That's amazing news. Get in there. Can I celebrate a little bit? 78 minutes. There he is, keeping Ollie at the wheel. Oh, bless Ollie. I nearly cried when he cried in that interview. I just bloody love the guy. What a lovely man. So for me, he is a whatever you've got him right now. If you've got him, keep him. If you don't buy him. That's what I think personally for Ronaldo. Scott, any thoughts on that?
I was about to go really hammer into this, and then Ronaldo scored, and I'm such a, streaky person that I'm thinking about now getting Ronaldo in. No, I'd think Man United are playing as bad as Man United have ever played in my life, if I'm honest. They're awful. No one seems at it. I wouldn't be rushing to get Ronaldo in, not just because Ronaldo's not in form. I know he's just scored, but none of the players are on form. Fernandes, Greenwood, I know he's not been in the team, but Rashford's come in, not look good. Martial, whatever. Van der Beek's been given the chance today. When I watched that half of football, you were awful downstairs. Sancho, how much? 80 million was it for Sancho? My God. I wouldn't be getting him in because they have looked poor, but Man U will come good if they get this interim manager in as well. Mm-hmm. They will come good, and you can't keep Ronaldo quiet, as he's proven yet again in the Champions League.
I still don't understand why they play Van der Beek in a 10. I just don't get it. But he plays in a 2 midfield. He's so box to box. He's such an 8-er. So it doesn't matter. Anyway, that's my United rant over for today. Strikers, generally, Scott, though, what are we going to do? Strikers, what's going on? In the last 6 game weeks, we've got 2 strikers that have scored 4 goals each. Your man Benteke, 6.3 million. He's scored 4 goals, 2 were in the last game. Josh King's scored 4 goals in the last. He made 5 appearances in the last 6 game weeks. He didn't play in game week 7, but 3 of them were in 1 game, and the other goal was against the worst Man United team in the last 40 years. So, 35. So he's got 4 goals. Hwang with his 3. Watkins now with 3. Who off this list, off this rabble? These are all the players, by the way, that have scored more than 1 goal in the last 6 games. So the amount of strikers that have scored a goal it's 12 strikers that have scored more than 1 goal in the last 6 game weeks.
It's a tough one because you wouldn't have I keep looking at a player one week, and I feel like a player has 1 or 2 good games, has 2 or 3 games off, and then has 1 or 2. It's like bloody what's his name? Watford. Dennis. He keeps popping up with like a double-digit haul every few weeks.
Here he is.
Dr. Martin, one of our friends, he had him on his bench. But I mean, for me, looking at that list, I know he got 1 point this week, and I know he plays for the worst team in the league at the minute. But it's just Callum Wilson. It's the eye test. He gets chances every game. They're under a new manager, attacking manager now under Eddie Howe, and he's playing against St. Maxim, who's so good to watch. He's so much better than that team. For me, I would look at Wilson and or St. Maxim, if I'm honest, because he does look good. But Benteke as well. Just going for chances created. I know your job as a striker is to put the ball in the back of the net, but Palace with Zaha and Gallagher, they keep making these chances. So for me, I'd look at Benteke as well, if I'm honest. I'm tempted.
I completely agree with you. And I think also that after the next 4 game weeks, I'd be shocked if Ollie Watkins in my team.
Yeah.
I think he, as a striker, and I know I mention it every week on the podcast, but Ings won't play all the games in the week or in the season, especially even over that busy period. He's just not fit enough. So Watkins will be the main man for that ability to score goals. Gerrard will want to attack. He plays attacking football. I mean, I've only seen him at Rangers. I mean, you can't not play attacking football with Rangers in the SPL, but still, we'll see what happens when he plays some real big teams. But still, for me, when I look at the striker list on here at the moment, yeah, I'd have to agree with you. I mean, I've got Wilson in my team for a reason. I like Josh King as 5.6. I like him for that in this team, but Watford have got Leicester, Chelsea, and Man City as their next 3.
So he's got to be on your bench, isn't he? So
he's your bench player, but he's the best bench striker, the best third striker, I think. At 5
points. What's Tony say? Oh, Everton, Spurs, Leeds. See, Tony, I think's looked all right when I've watched him as well. I know it's been
weird.
that.
Isn't it weird though? Because the goal he scored, it should have been saved, right?
Yeah.
But then he followed that one in, and he was offside by his big toe.
Yeah.
With him and Buemo one. So I just don't know what to make of Tony.
I'm biased. I love the guy because he used to play for Scunthorpe, but he looks bright when I watch him. He looks like it looks like he wants to get on the end of chances, and he always has a chance or 2 in him every game, I believe. So he's been in my team, and I can't see me potentially bringing him out too soon, if I'm honest.
Where is he here? There's Ivan. Can I get that married up? He's at the bottom here as well. So XGI 2.8, only been involved in 1. So statistics are saying he should have been involved in 3 goals in the last 6 game weeks, and he's only been involved in 1. Expected points 27.2, and he's only got 15. So it's saying that he's due.
Yeah,
that's what it's coming across as, and he's not getting dropped. And he's played every minute. It's 540 minutes. He's played every minute. 15 shots, 8 on target, 12 of them coming within the penalty area. It's actually of 2, and he scored 1. He's somebody who, I think my main thing there is no big chances created.
No, but when I look at the guy above him for 0.1 million more expensive, now I'm tempted to get St. Maxim in for him.
I thought you meant Joe Linton then.
Plays every game.
You never know, he does today as well. Oh, it's ridiculous. But yeah, thanks to everyone who sent me in a variety of questions about strikers this week. Rodrigo's up here as well. Tom was very happy to not 2 goals, even though he's flagged. Yeah, I think I'd agree. The guys at the back, and I think Jimenez looks good as well, along with Hwang. Again, I think they both look like good players. Wolves are bottom of the fixture ticker. They've got Norwich and Burnley next 2, so great fixtures there. Then they have Liverpool, Man City, Brighton away, Chelsea, Watford, Arsenal, and Man United. So it's pretty scary till game week 22 from game week 15. So the next 2 game weeks, yeah, great, but they're not a long-term player to come in. And yeah, Norwich with a new manager bounce. Who knows? But yeah, so that's the striker chat covered off. That's my Ronaldo comparison. What a guy. We had a question come in from one of our guys, one of our listeners, Callum, Thank you very much. Two-time man. You get a couple of shout-outs, don't you, with your manager of the month, your manager of the week. If you could buy one player now, who would it be? Would you go with a mainstay player who's been relatively consistent, or somebody who's a differential? But what I've decided to do is change the question a little bit, because I think this is quite interesting. If you right now could pick any player in the game, just because I mentioned this earlier, and after my wild card, there's no player in the game right now that I really desperately wish I had in my team that I don't. Is there any player right now for you, Scott, that you really wish you had in your team that is consistently performing every week?
In my team right now?
Your team, your personal team.
João Cancelo.
Mr. Cancelo.
Is two reasons. No one scores plus that City defence. And my God, he looks frightening going forward.
Yeah, he does, doesn't he? And they've got West Ham, Villa, Watford, Wolves, Leeds, Newcastle.
But is like, I almost don't care who they're playing. It's like a trend.
Yeah.
And they might concede, which they probably won't. But you know what? As much of a chance of creating a goal. If I didn't have Trent in, my answer would have been Trent.
Yeah. And I completely agree with that. And I'm happy having, obviously, there's the players in that I've got at the moment with having James and Cancelo. And you could always talk about the double up with those guys as well at the back. But differential, Scott. A differential player. Somebody. I'm going to go through my options first, and the people who I think are probably the ones that stand out to me. And a few of them are on this list in front of us here. And I've got the non-penalty expected goals of the players over the last 6 game weeks, and obviously Salah's at the top. Benteke at 2.1% ownership and 6.3 million. He's somebody I'd consider. I mean, it's dead boring this, but Mane, like. If you want to go differential, and at the moment we haven't got a load of. If you want to play 3 at the back, right? Yeah, let's just say you want to go Trent, Cancelo, and either James or Chilwell. Let's just do that. Play 3 at the back and go 2 budgets. So you've got Livramento if you have him from before, but if not, then you can go cheaper than him now. He's now become that 4.6 now, so he's not cheap enabler anymore. But if you wanted to go with like 4 in midfield, why not go Salah, Mane, Gallagher, and Rafinha if he's doing all right, someone like Smith Rowe, Maxwell Cornet as well, if you want to go somebody who's again a differential at 6.1. They're going to be consistent. You can play 5 across midfield. I mean, there's plenty of other budget options around that you can get on. Obviously, you can't go Jota because you've got Trent, Mane, and but you can probably even afford Foden and then just go someone cheap up top, or even my next man, Bernardo Silva, 8.7% owned, so a little bit high, but 7.2 million. But he is, well, his XG of 2.17 in the last 6 games, but he looks incredible this season. He's always falling. He's like the City's Gundogan last season. Remember Gundogan went on that ridiculous run? Yeah. I feel like Bernardo's he might be just starting that run, or something with Bernardo is just, I love watching him play. I mean, I absolutely can't stand the blokes who wears a blue shirt for Manchester. No, but I'm joking. I'm not the type of fan. But because he works so hard and he's so integral to the team. I'm a big fan of Trossard, but he just isn't quite consistent enough. But I'm a big fan, 3.1% and 6.5 million. Yeah, Maxwell Cornet is 2.3% owned as well. And then finally, Jared Bowen on this list at 6.4 million and 3.1% owned overall within the game. Those are my main ones. If I had to pick one right now, if it wasn't for the fixtures, it probably would be Bowen. But with the fixtures and the run that they've got, and actually they look quite open. I really like Maxwell Cornet.
Burnley, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I like him a lot. It's close to him and Bernardo for me, but Bernardo's just a little bit more expensive. So I would go Cornet at 6.1 million and 2.3% owned. After my waffle, Scott, any thoughts?
I usually like to be different, but yeah, Maxwell Cornet. We've mentioned we play draft, and I have him in draft, and he's an exciting player. If you ever watch Burnley, and like we mentioned earlier, this isn't a Burnley of old. There's goals in these Burnley games, and actually at times they look decent. He's playing off Chris Wood, and he's playing well. And his goal he scored at the weekend, if you've not seen it, give it a watch. Absolute rocket. he don't, and he's just there creating chances. And 6.1 million is, I think that's unbelievable value.
Yeah,
Bernardo's good because Bernardo's Pep's trusted go-to man now, especially with KDB having all these issues.
Yeah,
he trusts Bernardo, and he has looked great. And I know one of our friends, DC, has got him in his team. And I think that's a good shout from DC because he is one of these players. But it's 1 point whatever million, 1.2 million, just a bit too expensive for me as well.
Yeah. And you can see there, Maxwell Cornet, 4 goals in his last 6 games. Only Salah has scored more goals. There it is, black and white. So yeah, I love that question. And that leads us on quite nice, I think, to one of the other quick fires that we've got. Hopefully this is right. And it is. Is Bernardo Silva the best Man City asset? So quick fire on this one. That was one question that came in this week. And I liked it. The answer is no. It's Cancelo, and
Correct.
then it's Foden. But Bernardo is right up there with those two as the best asset. But Cancelo is the best City asset. Done. Foden probably second, and then it's Bernardo for me. Any different thoughts on that one, Scott?
Nope.
Yeah, I'd like to touch on that one. But thanks for that question. I think it's a good one, and he is definitely in that top 3, if not around that second amount. And then the final question was: Is it time to captain a defender? And this question for me has just come 1 game week too soon. And the reason why is you're probably never captaining Trent over Salah in the same game. Because they're in the same match, obviously play the same team. Well done, Alex. So you're never going to captain Trent over Salah. Would you? Salah's got 68 points in the last 6 game weeks, and then it's James and Chilwell with 54 apiece. I think potentially yes. Previously, you could have done. The rotation scares me a little bit, but then with James and Chilwell this week they play Man United, so maybe arguably the Man United bottom of the form table, you could captain him this week. But with a few of Chelsea's future fixtures, yeah, maybe Watford away the week after, maybe. But that's also prime rotation, isn't it? If they've got 3 games in the space of 10 days in the Premier League, and also I know James and Chilwell have started tonight against Juventus. So it's debatable, but Leeds at home game week 16, that's definitely an option for them there as well. Looking at that one, they've got. You're not crazy to. Previous seasons, I'd have said don't touch it with a barge pole, because it's also not that fun, because you end up getting kicked by it when soon as they concede a goal. But when you look at the numbers that they're delivering right now, it has to be said that they are an option in the future, and you're not wrong to consider them as an option. What do you think, Scott?
Yes, I agree. This season more than any, because in the previous seasons you may be hoping for a clean sheet, whereas, like we mentioned earlier, clean sheet's not the end of your game week, because these defenders, they're not defenders, they're absolutely maniacs that run up and down the pitch all game and create unbelievable chances. So, and they take corners, they take free kicks, they swing balls in from every angle going. It's not ridiculous. I thought about it. I'm not going to say for longer than 5 seconds about captaining Trent last week, but I did, and I keep getting tempted. It's just that fear of a Salah assist, and then you're left adrift.
It's the ceiling, isn't it? And do you know what? If it wasn't for Salah this season, I think I'd have definitely captained the defender by now.
Yes, I 100% agree. If he'd picked a knock up or somewhere a few weeks, I 100% would have been going for Trent or even a Reece James or someone like that.
Finally, to wrap up, Scotty, fixtures for this week that are coming up. It starts off game week 12:30 Saturday, so deadline is 11 o'clock on Saturday. Arsenal against Newcastle with the early kickoff. Are there any fixtures this week that make you think about captaining anybody else other than Salah against Southampton at home?
No.
Yeah, and let's not drag this out. There's nobody else here again for me. I'd love to say Leicester, but they're not on form against Watford.
An informed Vardy a few weeks ago, maybe.
Yeah,
but
exactly. No. I couldn't have said better. 5 weeks ago, I'd probably captain Vardy this week. Well, maybe I wouldn't. I probably captain Salah, but I'd thought about it. But we'll draw it to a close there. Scott, thank you ever so much for joining me this week. Thank you ever so much for your questions. Please like the video and subscribe to our channel. And please follow us and comment on our posts and give us some feedback on All in Football P and All in Football Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and also TikTok. thanks very much for joining me today, Scotty, and hopefully we'll welcome Tom back next week. And bye for now.